In today's video, we're going to be laying our initial foundation layer for our Hyperadobe off-grid chicken coop tower.
If you don't know us, we are two rebels off grid, trying to be cool, but we're not so much. We sold everything, moved from Colorado, and went to Cochise County, Arizona, and here we are building things.
There's something circling you.
All right, so we already filmed this a few days ago before it rained, and we realized it was way too windy, and we're getting really annoyed with our windy videos. We're trying to have better audio quality and better video quality, and we even had these little fuzzy guys on, and the wind was still louder than us.
That's a bee.
Yeah, I got a bee flying around me. But we've already completed all this, but we have to redo basically our explaining what we did. So here we took a lime base. I can't really give you the ratios because we winged it. It was like what? It was like 1 part lime to 3 parts sand.
Yeah.
And we laid it down. I swept off to the bedrock, got it cleared down to the bedrock, and we have a circle. But as you can see, it's got rebar in there. It's pretty solid. It's starting to dry. They say lime needs up to 2 weeks to dry, and it also suggests that you keep it wet for 2 weeks while it's drying. And then it has a super hydraulic resisting property to it after that, more so than concrete, because you actually have, it's more solid. It's got more elasticity to it. So as you can see in the video, we're going to show you that we're just slopping it down, and this is the first stage to our chicken tower. It needs a base to it. It's definitely not level. We are working on a slope, so we realize that at some point we are going to be having a fuss around with that, getting the first layer of bags level. Once we get it all level, it should go up pretty smoothly.
Yeah, and we just want to explain why we're doing this and our reasoning behind it. As most of you know, we are building on a rock. Like, we have tons of caliche rock, and we have bedrock here also, which is awesome. But most people, when they build this type of Hyperadobe earth bag construction, they build it right on dirt, and so they dig down and do almost like a traditional type of a foundation, where they dig down and put the foundation layers in the trench and build up from there. Well, we can't do that. So Doug has spent a lot of time with the tractor getting all the dirt off, and so right underneath this is solid rock. It is, I don't know if it's caliche.
Solid as a rock.
I don't know if it's caliche or bedrock, but it's solid. So we decided to do this layer as kind of like the bonding layer that's going to bond our foundation layers, and it's going to keep water from coming through. So that's our reasoning behind that. We haven't seen anybody do this because we don't know anybody else that's built Hyperadobe on a rock.
We're making it up.
Yep. All right, I wanted to talk a tiny bit about the size of the chicken coop. The coop is the circular building that is going to be where the chickens go to sleep at night, where they're safe and protected. So our chickens are going to be mostly free range, and but we want to provide a safe place for them to sleep at night. So that's why we're building this coop. And we originally were thinking it was going to be 20 feet wide, that the diameter of the of the total coop was going to be 20 feet, right? And we started talking to people, and they're like, "Oh, well, you're going to need a permit for that." So I called the county and talked it through, and we realized that we can actually get a permit exemption if we keep the floor square space. Oh, look what we have here.
Escapee.
Where's Zoey? Did you let Zoey get away too?
She's free now.
We keep Willow and Zoey, our dogs, tied up because we have coyotes that come out during the day. And Willow has figured out how to chew through things. So we need to start using our metal leash. She's talking to Zoey about she doesn't understand why Zoey's not coming over here, but she doesn't understand that she didn't chew Zoey's leash in half. She only chewed her own in half. Anyway, I was talking with the county, and she said if it's 200 square feet or smaller of floor space, not outside measurements, so inside measurements is what we're talking, you can, and with a few other disclaimers, you have to have your setbacks, you still need to follow those, and you still need to make sure that you're in the right zoning district. We're in RU4, which allows an exemption on a 200 foot or smaller building, 200 square foot or smaller. So anyway, when we first did the circle, it was going to be 20 feet. I did the math. I'm like, that's almost 400 square feet. So we need to make it smaller. We actually brought it in to 16 feet across, just under 16 feet across. And how you find the square footage of your circle, if you're doing a circle, is you take the diameter, which is 16 feet, divide that by 2, which is 8. You take 8, you square it. So 8 times 8 is 64. And then you take 64 and multiply that by pi. The number for pi, for you nerds out there, is 3.14. So you multiply 64 by 3.14, and that gives you the square footage of that circle. So we are just under 200 square feet, or right at 200 square feet, and that's what we're going with. Doug's going to explain to you about the rebar and the buttresses now.
All right, so we're going to talk about buttresses now. The buttresses, you can see them in old Roman architecture, the Catholic churches, the Byzantine army, Byzantine architects. They all built these buttresses, which are basically, you'll see them on cathedrals. They come up and they extend and they push up against the wall to keep the big tall stone walls from tipping over. And basically we're going to put 1, 2, 3 buttresses and mini buttresses for on the sides of the doors, paralleling the doors. And its purpose, why we're only putting it on this side, is because this is going to be, we're guesstimating it's going to be the tallest side with the most gravity. The gravity forces will be mostly on this side because it's downslope. And it'll have the tendency to push weight that way. So these buttresses, in theory, will push the weight. It'll hold it straight. And we do have rebar going into these buttresses. The other thing is, when we redesigned this, or we brought it into a smaller size to be beneath the codes, the original rebar that I put in was out at 20 feet. So now we have these extra rebars that are sticking out that we are probably going to integrate them in the foundation somehow. We don't know if it's going to be planter boxes or just maybe like a stone bench or something like that to sit on or what have you. But yeah, this stuff, our original foundations had plenty of time to dry.
Yeah.
And we are pretty happy with this. It's connected directly to bedrock. Rebar is holding the lime foundation to the bedrock, and now we have a nice smooth clean surface to do something. In the next video we're going to show you we kind of change what we're going to do, and hopefully stick around for the next video and you'll see what that change is exactly.
Yeah.
That's it for this video.
Yeah.
You have anything to say?
Not really. Just thanks for hanging out till the end. And if you have any questions or comments, of course, post them down below. We love interacting with you guys. You've always got great input, and we appreciate you following us along.